Hi guys, and welcome back to another explore, as today I look to conclude the Barnsley Coal Railway series as part 5. Now in part 4, you might remember I finished at Rhyill station, which was right here where I'm stood now. However, I did realise that I had made a little bit of an error. I did think that where I'm stood now, which is what I showed you in part 4, was the site of Rhyill station. But some of you guys have told me that I was wrong and it was slightly more to the right. So I've come back today just to have a look and I found it. So I'm going to take you and just show you what's left of the Rhyill station. So you might remember in part 4, I did say that I thought the station was actually here. And if you remember, I said that there was a bridge that came underneath Station Road. Now I misjudged the track and thought it actually came this way, but now there are some pictures of that bridge that I've actually discovered since part 4. So to the right here would have been our track bed, clearly overgrown. Now the bridge would have been right here. So in part 4, where I showed you where the bridge was, obviously it's clearly been infilled. Now there is a picture taken from around here showing a train coming underneath the bridge towards Rhyill station. So to the right of me here is where the actual station was located. Now clearly what we're looking at now is just woodland and vegetation. However, both the platforms are quite well preserved still. You can actually see here the old platform edges. You can see a little bit of red brick down at the bottom right there. You see the platform stones at the top here. And if I just take you up to the top, I did find a railway relic. Now I am actually unclear of what it is. So if you just take a look at this here, looks like some kind of tension pulley or something, but it does look really old and rusted. Now bearing in mind this station actually closed in 1930. You can just see here that I'm walking on the platform edge. Now the majority of it is actually overgrown with ivy and nettle, so I'm going to have to be very careful. Now as I mentioned in part 4, that there was a station building and it was around where I'm probably stood now, but because of all this ivy here, there's absolutely no way you're actually going to see any remains, if any. But right here we'd have been stood in the early 20th century waiting for a train. You can see how it dips there, and you can see the other platform on the other side, and our track bed would have continued that way. Again, clearly overgrown. So this photograph here I believe was taken from around here, and I actually thought the station was called Rhyill and Wintersett, but it's actually called Wintersett and Rhyill. It was actually renamed. I'm not sure exactly the year when it was renamed, because originally the station was called Rhyill. Now if we just venture further towards northwards along the track bed, now there's not much you can really see at the moment of the other platform, but you can see where the platforms are. If I just go a little closer, I can just see that there is a little bit of red brick hiding underneath all the ivy. Don't know if you can just see that there, but there'll be a lot more. Now obviously if I'd have come in winter, you'd probably see a lot more. If you check out Wet Dog FBK, his video on the Barnsley Coal, he did it a couple of years ago, and you can probably be able to see the platforms, and he shows. So check out his video on the Barnsley Coal Railway. But if I just take a little walk further on, I think I can just see a little bit more. Maybe not. So this is where our station carried on. In fact, yeah, you can see a lot more down here. I'll just take you a bit further in. You can see more platforms just hiding down in the corner down there. See the red brick and the stone. I can't really see much of the left side platform. And then our track bed would have continued directly through these trees here. And we're talking, what, nearly 100 years ago since this station was in operation. Now, if you take a look at this photograph, there was the station building to the left of me right here. And just beyond that bridge to the left was a signal box. And just up here, you would have a footbridge with some steps going across the platform. Now I'm guessing just up there was the station access in, where I just entered. And I believe that this picture was taken from around here. So I'm just going to see if I can fade this photograph in.
You keep me on my feet. I'll move to the beat, my favorite song. Keep it on repeat.
So I'm just about walking underneath where the footbridge used to be. You just see the platforms there again. So I'm going to take a little walk out of here, or the station site. If I turn to my left, there's a public footpath that goes back towards the bridge. Now the bridge is just here. And I'm just going to take a little walk up here. And before we head on, I'm going to show you that bridge. So it's going to take you to a point where I think this photograph was taken. So I'm stood round about here. Now that bridge was just here. Signal box just slightly beyond. You can just see the train leading in towards the station right here. So what we're going to do now is carry on our venture beyond towards the Wintersett Junction and Rhyill.
You keep me on my feet. I'll move to the beat, my favorite song. Keep it on repeat. Please don't.
So here is where I've just walked. The station was just behind all this veg. Now there's a little footpath that leads back onto the where the line would have been. And now we're going to head on northwards. So the track continued out through these trees here. The station is just behind there. And would have carried on right through here. And again, you would not believe, I mean, look at all that vegetation there. Obviously it's this time of the year, but you wouldn't believe that there were trains bombing left and right. According to OS maps, there was a large goods shed around here somewhere. I believe I'm stood just at about the location of where it was. But again, you're not going to be able to see much through all this veg. So I think it's been a lesson learnt on this last couple of explores. Only venture a disused railway that's abandoned in winter. But I have enjoyed it so far. There's been a lot to discover, and perhaps there would have been more, but I think our goods shed would have been to the right here. We're moving more north up the line. It's all overgrown in there, but there is a footpath that carries on our track bed. So our line now has now been pushed to the right. Again, just woodland. Just headed off that embankment, coming down this little footpath, and we'll come across a demolished bridge. You can see the two sides of it. Looks like there's another embankment on the other side. Well, you can see where the bridge used to be. Abutments are here. Slight damage to the walls. And I'm guessing this is a vehicle stopper. That's looking at it from the other way. Back onto the embankment towards Rhyill. We're now going to continue where I believe there's a footpath. Getting back onto the track bed. So splitting off the two embankments with the bridge, walking back up onto the next embankment. Footpaths well preserved, resembling the railway lines, which is what we like to see. Abandoned railway that's still walkable. See some more bridge remains here. That's where the abutments were. Train would have carried on along here on this embankment. Looks like it has been converted into a public official footpath. Very overgrown. So I'm not going to promise that I can see much as we venture further up the line. But I'll see what I can spot, if I can spot anything. Taking a look back towards Barnsley and Rhyill station. We're in this small cutting. And I still have not seen one soul the whole length of the journey. You can see the blast in the rocks to the right here. Probably about 20 feet high in this cutting. Coming towards the end of the cutting, it's quite muddy. You need to be very careful. But I think there was a bridge here, another infill bridge. Now, you can see there's a lot of vegetation and spoil that looks like it's infilled the bridge. You can see a lot of red brick that still remain. Let's just have a little look what it says, and you can't really see. I think it says Ravens. Don't know, it says Raven something, but it's covered in moss. See if there's anything else, but I think that we're looking at the remains of a bridge here. Now I can see at the top of the spoil there a few stones. So was it a stone or a brick bridge? I'm not too sure. So we'll head up off the track. So we're heading over where the bridge was, back onto the track bed. So heading back down into a cutting. You can see a lot more red brick. So clearly here there is an infill bridge. Oh, couldn't they have just left it? Why fill it in? Would have been nice to look at, wouldn't it? But clearly overgrown, and it's entered another small cutting. Here we've got some red brick. So walk through a cutting now. It seems to be a lot more muddy around here. There's that infill bridge I was talking about. I think our next road, I think there might be a bridge, because we're coming towards a road called Long Dam Lane. And I also think I'm coming up to a junction to another railway line before we get to Wintersett Junction. Our line will have continued right through this wall of trees here, but the track bed is overgrown now, so we're gonna have to venture off and find our way back onto the track. My first encounter with anybody on the venture. and I was chased by a dog, but the guy just directed me back onto an easy footpath to the track bed, which I think we've found. So let's just venture up here and see if we can get back onto the track bed where it's safe to walk. No. So what we'll do is we'll head this way, see if we can find our way back onto the track bed. So I'm just walking on a path just adjacent to the line. Our track bed would have been to the left there. I mean, look at that. No traces of a railway there. So I'm just going to walk onto what's called Longdam Lane. And I've just had another conversation with a guy who had the dog, and he's just told me to go this way. So our track bed would have been here. Just following this footpath onto Longdam Lane now. See if we can pick up our track bed going towards Wintersett. So we've just had to head off the track bed onto Longdam Lane, and I've come across these abutments. So it does say that there was a bridge around here. Probably the nicest thing I've seen since I've been on this venture. So you can see the two bridge abutments, coping stones to the top just there. You can see a few more just at the top there. Nice old school red brick. Some wing walls at the side that are just hidden behind all that vegetation. So if I just show you this shot here. Now if it wasn't overgrown, we might be able to see a little bit more and potentially even be able to get up onto that embankment. There's actually a footpath that goes back up onto the line. So let's just take a little venture to the top. Didn't know this was here, I nearly missed it. It's always worth just having a little look and seeing what could be up here. So I am venturing back on myself a little bit. So we are actually heading back towards Barnsley here. But I'm guessing we're not going to really see much. So walking back on myself is if I'm walking back towards Rhyill station. We do have, I did come across an embankment that I could have missed. And there is a massive dip just here. So I did head back a little further on the line, but there's nothing really to show. So what we're going to do now is continue back towards that bridge that I just showed you with the red brick, and I continue north of there towards the Wintersett Junction. So there's the pathway that I've just come off that embankment. The red brick bridge that I showed you was just here. So we're moving on to our next embankment, just up this footpath here. So track bed, carried on through this vegetation. Got another official footpath. You can see it was wide enough for 2 tracks. Obviously this side that I'm walking on now, guessing would have been northbound traffic, and where this vegetation would have been southbound. See down there, we've just got the bases of potential wiring. That's what I think anyway. We'll continue up towards Rhyill. I now believe we're going to approach a split. We do cross underneath a bridge, I so believe underneath another railway line, which was the Dearne Valley Junction Railway down towards Doncaster. I can't promise that I'm going to be able to show you anything more on this embankment, even though I've just found those relics just down the back there. So I've entered into another cutting, going towards Back Lane, between Back Lane and Longdam Lane. This is our track bed that goes through the small cutting. It's been so strange I've been walking for about 2.5 hours and I've literally only seen one person. The cutting does get a little bit smaller now. I can just see a bridge coming up towards Back Lane. So here's that bridge that carries Back Lane across the line. You can see it was made out of the red brick. Got some massive wing wall to the side that's covered in ivy. You can just see up there. You can probably get a closer view if I go up the side here. You can see a little boundary post here. And a closer look at the bridge. So I've just headed up onto Back Lane. So here's another look at the bridge at the top, the coping stone here. You can see a lot of the stone at the top is missing. It's got an iron structure in the centre that's rusting. It's pretty much the same on the other side. It's nice and quiet. See the track bed down there where we're going to carry on. And just another look at the bridge. We're going to head back onto the track bed and carry on towards Wintersett. Just come back underneath the bridge. You can see a lot of soot at the top. The iron supports underneath. Coped in graffiti. You can just see a little spur there. As the road curves. That's looking back at the bridge. Entering another small cutting. There's a lot of cuttings on this line. And we should be coming up to where we cross paths with the Dearne Valley Railway. Coming to a section now where we cross paths with the Dearne Valley Railway. So we're just going to follow this footpath. So we're now at a junction with the Dearne Valley line. Now I believe that that heads down towards Doncaster. And that towards Crofton. Our track was to continue down here. Now, I'm not sure how it crossed over. I think there was a bridge that must have come under here. So I believe that the bridge must be infilled somewhere underneath all this vegetation. So this was another railway line which we're going to save for another day. And down here would have been a bridge, I believe. You can see the cutting that carries on down the line. So back that way was a junction with the Dearne Valley line. Our track bed would now be continuing just adjacent to me. And I can see on the maps that we are approaching the Wintersett Junction. Again, all overgrown, so there's nothing much I can promise we can see. Got a nice pond, large pond to the left. It's a really nice day for something like this. So just get you a little bit of drone footage of that pond before we head on towards Wintersett Junction.
In the next part of the video, we're going to be taking a walk towards the triangular junction of the Nossal North and the Nossal South junction. You can see in the line of trees where the two lines split, the Barnsley Coal going off to the left and the loop line that would have branched off to the right towards the West Riding and Grimsby line, which is still in current operation.
So just entered a small cutting and it looks like we're coming towards another structure. Looks like a bridge. So we've got another bridge that's made out of red brick. You can see an absolute load of bricks on the floor here, because you can see at the top there's a lot of damage. Now let me see if I can see if there's any writing. You can't really make out what it says. Craven something. There's a lot of bricks just around here. Some say JWR on them. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm sure you guys do. Again, we've got a similar structure to some of the bridges that I've seen down the line. And slightly, some of the bridge has been filled in here. It looks to me like it's got a mixture of red brick. It does look like there's got a bit of blue brick as well. You can see the soot at the top and the rusted steelwork that still remains. But again, a nice abandoned looking structure that I like to see, no matter what condition it's in. Here's another view from the back. Now we're going to head on. We're coming close towards that junction. Now I believe I'm at the site here of the Wintersett Junction. You would have had two cuttings, one peering off to the left here and then one peering off to the right here towards Nossal. Now I believe that this cutting has literally been filled in. So this was our split. You probably could just see a little bit of the cutting over there where it's all overgrown. But we are going to venture just slightly further up, see if I can see any more. Now I think I'm entering the cutting that's moving towards the right, so you can see here I'm in another cutting. But I believe this is going to take me more towards Nossal. So the line would have joined the West Riding and Grimsby line. So the Barnsley Coal, the GCR railway extension, would have actually been the one going to the left. And that Wintersett Junction, where I've just showed you, would have been the GCR loop line going towards Nossal South Junction. So when we get up there, hopefully we can see a little bit more. There is a little footpath that's taking me up. So this is the woods that's between the two junctions. So down here looks like you've got a cutting. This is our Barnsley coal line. You can see the cutting there, the track bed that leads up towards the Grimsby line. Now it looks too dangerous to go down there. We are following the cutting through these woods, so I've decided to continue the venture on the Barnsley coal and not turn right, which was my original plan. I'm not sure how far this is going to take me, but I'm going to try my best to get as much of the line in as possible, because that's what it's all about. Now I gather there's probably going to be a lot of relics still probably embedded into that cutting. Cutting looks about 40 feet, but I'm going nowhere near going down there. There's no footpaths or anything leading down. Just found a footpath a little further. There's our track bed leading us onto a field. So our track would have continued right through here. Now, would you believe there was a railway going through here? Our line then continued just probably around here somewhere, right through here. I can literally see on the Google Maps that I'm following the track bed, the line of trees. Our track bed would have been right here, and it have connected to the current live Grimsby line, or what it was known as, going through these trees. You can just see the line up there.
A coal loading hopper was built here to serve a local cast mine back in the 1970s. It was demolished about a decade later in the 80s. The Barnsley coal last saw its use in 1961.
And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. So that's the Barnsley Coal Railway series fully completed. I really do hope you all enjoyed that full 9-mile venture between Stairfoot. Obviously Nossal was back that way, so if we'd have peered off to the right, it would have taken me more closer towards Nossal. So a massive thank you to Wet Dog, who joined me in the first and the second part. A massive thank you to Jess, who joined me in part 3. And a massive thank you to you guys for tuning in and to watching it. I really hope you all enjoyed the series. Don't forget to watch part 1, part 2, part 3, potentially part 4 and 5. I'm not sure how many parts it's going to be. And I'll see you again for another explore.